Are you single and looking for a godly spouse, somebody who loves the Lord like you do? Well, this was me until God brought the man of my dreams into my life. He brought me that special someone. And this is my story. I pray that it encourages and blesses you. Years ago, after a relationship had ended, I made the decision that I wanted to be in a godly relationship. I wanted a godly husband, and I wasn't willing to settle. So I ended up praying that God would pick my future husband and then tell him that I was the one when he saw me. Now, this may sound silly to some, but it's kind of similar to what happened with my parents. So that was my prayer. And I said, Lord, he has to, whoever you pick for me, he has to love you because God knows what's best. There's a scripture that says there's a way that seems right to a man, but the end thereof is death. We in the Bible tells us to trust in the Lord with all of our heart and lean not under our own understanding. When it comes to a spouse, somebody that we are going to do life together, this is a critical and an important decision to make because it's till death do you part. It's a covenant, right? And so I prayed for God to pick my future husband, for him to pick him. I was done picking. Okay, God had to pick him, but my requirement was that he was a man who loved God. And so, anyways, 5 years goes by, and over that time frame, I was preparing myself for my future husband. I was preparing myself for marriage, and I was growing in the Lord. My focus was getting my degree, growing in the Lord. And I even remember at the time I had been smoking. I was a smoker. And I remember that is it. I didn't want to continue smoking. This is not a habit that I wanted to continue or bring into marriage. And I also didn't want that to be what my husband was doing. So I figured when the Lord brought my husband into my life, he probably wouldn't be a smoker. So I remember setting about, praying about to get free from that. And I did. And so I was just, again, preparing myself, and God was preparing me for the man that he had for me. And he was preparing us both for each other. And so I don't want to forget this. Let me just throw it in there. If the work that God was doing in both of us hadn't been done, then it would not have been time for us to meet each other. So the importance of growing in the Lord, focusing on him, allowing him to change you and prepare you into the person that you are supposed to be, especially when it comes to the timing of your spouse, that is very important. And so my focus was the Lord, and the Lord was working in me. And I also was thinking, how I didn't want smoking in the future. So, and I was just thinking ahead of time. So, I hear stories of people praying about their future spouses for their kids. And I was thinking about how can I prepare? So anyways, 5 years went by, and the Lord led me into the staffing industry. And so I was at a job fair on the weekend. I volunteered. They needed somebody, and because I was the only single person, without children, I volunteered to go. And so I'm at this event, and then my future husband, sees me, and the Lord told him that she's the one. And so he didn't say anything to me at this event, but he did ask about me. He asked my boss at the time. And so, and then she said, he was asking about you. And I was like, is he even saved? Does he know if I'm saved? And so, anyways, he didn't say anything to me. And so Monday rolls around, and then this giant bouquet of flowers comes around the corner. And there was a card that said that he'd been in scripture for the last couple of days, seeking from God if he should contact me, and would I do the same? And then he gave me a Song of Solomon scripture and his phone number. And so I ended up calling him, planning our first date anyways for that Friday. And so we went on our first date that Friday, and it's then that he told me, I know this sounds weird, but I just really feel like I need to tell you that when I saw you, God told me that you were the one. And it's so funny because I told him I prayed this prayer, but then we were both kind of looking at each other like, are they making this? He making this up? He's like, is she making this up? But anyways, he would find out we were not making, it was, nobody was making up anything. It was true. And God didn't just bring me somebody that I could do life with, because he brought me somebody that is kingdom minded. And for minutes, he brought us together for a couple purposes, for us to do life together, but for also us to serve the Lord together. And what is amazing is I have this past. I have this past of addiction where I was on meth, and it was in the past, and I've been off that drug for years. And I always wondered, um, what's my future husband going to think of my past, you know? And is he just going to be somebody that's never done anything wrong, which that's not possible, but and so here God brings me this man who is a strong man of God who also had a past, the same kind of drugs, and he had been clean for years as well, and actually owned a business, and was a respectable man of the community. And so just knowing we had this past, and he accepted me for who I was, it's just such a beautiful thing. And he sent me the second day after he sent me the bouquet of flowers, before I ever met him, the next day he sent me a card. He said, I've been in scripture over the last, not sorry, he sent me a card that said, you've never in your life been treated the way I would treat you. I thought, this guy's got to be making this up. I just wasn't used to a man really meaning what he said. And so I didn't really put much into it, but it's true. He treats me better than I've ever been treated. He's very supportive, and he loves the Lord. He loves the Lord, and we get to do life together, and we get to read the word and talk about the Lord and pray together and serve him and lead people to him. I mean, it is just amazing. And then it is so good. God is so good. And so what I did is I didn't lean on my own understanding. I asked God to pick my husband, and God can do the same for you. God knows what's best. He knows who he has for you. He knows what ministry he's called you to, and who's going to be that support, or that person that you're serving together, who's going to be understanding, who's going to hold you down in prayer. God knows best. So if there's anything I would say, pray and seek the Lord for the spouse if you are single, and he knows, and you might have to wait. Mine was 5 years, and if it had been any year sooner, we would not have been ready for each other. So from my story, I would just seek God, have God pick the person out, be faithful to wait, don't settle. I wasn't willing to settle, and neither was he. I wanted the one that God picked. And there were a number of people that there were some that had come into my life that were professing Christians, or that I remember I was on this app briefly, and there were people that said they were like Christians, but there was nothing about God at all. So I just got off the app. I shouldn't have been there anyways. Should have just been waiting for the Lord, but maybe they could have been on there. I don't know. So anyways, I guess take what you will from this, but my advice is to pray and seek the Lord, have the Lord pick them out, be faithful to wait for the one that he has for you. Because I'm telling you, he's not going to let you down. He is going to exceed your expectations. I hope this blessed you. If you haven't already subscribed, consider doing so. And until next time, you have a blessed day. And I just pray God's will for your life. And I pray that God will bring the person that he has for you into your life. And when he does, you message me, okay? You message in the comments. All right, you take care.